Hello and welcome back. This video is going to be about programming the DX6 radio for the Sport Club aircraft. You've seen the maiden flights 1, 2, and 3, and those showed how we use the DX5 radio, and it flies the Sport Cub very well. However, it's not my recommendation for the best radio available. It's certainly a very good radio and a very inexpensive alternative to the DX6. This is about, I think it's $59 in that range. But the DX6 radio certainly has a lot more going for it, and the best radio for the money as far as I am concerned. So, this video is gonna do just the bare minimum, the basics of the DX6 in order to then bind and test the airplane in the next video. So let me get started with the initial programming for the DX6. Okay, so here are the two radios side by side, and what I first want to do is just do a very simple comparison between the two. DX5 radio is no programming at all other than throwing the switches, the servo reversing switches. And I hope you saw the previous video about when we did set up the DX5, that the aileron channel and the rudder channel, the servos are reversed, the throttle and the elevator channel are in the normal mode. So that's going to tell us what we're going to need to do for the DX6. Other than that, we know that we centered the trims, and so we're going to, but the default setting for the DX6 is neutral trim anyway, so that's not a big deal. So let me stop a second and I'll focus in on just the DX6. So now we're looking closely at the DX6, and the first thing I'm going to do is to set up a new model for the Sport Cub radio. So I'm going to turn the on button here while I hold the roller down, and that'll put us in this initial setup mode. And then I'm going to scroll down to select model. In fact, let me focus down on that a little bit so you make sure you can read it. Okay, so I'm on select model. I'm going to press the roller, and you can see I have two other models already on this, and I'm going to click on add new model, and we're going to say yes, we want to create that. Okay, and so the new model is created. I'm going to go to the main screen to show you what it says. It just says, okay, it's model number 3 up there in the corner, and it is just called Acro. And I got a timer down here. It shows how long you've been using it, and we've been using it just for 20 seconds. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is push the roller and go down to the system setup. It's going to ask me a question. Yes, are you sure you want to go into system setup, which turns off all the radio frequency, RF, and that's just fine because we're not using a model now. Okay, we could go and select another model here. The model type is default. I'm going to press it anyways, just to show you that it's in the airplane as a default. I'm going to hit the back button to get back to the previous screen. Next is the model name. Okay, so I like to name my models starting with the number 0, and this is model number 3. So let me find the number 3 here, and then a space, and then I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to hit the clear button twice to clear out the rest of that name. And I'm just going to put in Sport Cub. I like to use upper and lower case. You might notice if you're doing this and following along, every time you move the roller, your might be a tone going on. I'll show you later how to get rid of that tone if it bugs you like it does me. So sport. Cub. So there's the name. Okay, the aircraft type lets the system know what kind of wings and tail and all that you have. That's very important. Now the tail, the wing, as you recall, we're using a Y splitter for the ailerons. So to the radio, it looks like there's just one servo, and that's normal. If I come down here and show you, because we're using a DX6 receiver, we could have dual ailerons, but because we're going to use the DX5 as the buddy box and it only has 4 channels, then we have to leave this as normal, and we'll continue to use the Y connector for the aileron. So there's only one servo for the ailerons. That's what that little box there shows. And on the normal for the tail means there's a separate servo for the rudder and the elevator. So that's the elevator, that's the rudder, and there's a separate servo for each. Okay, so that's the aircraft type, is normal. If you hit the next button, it shows you what the aircraft image looks like, and it looks like an airplane, so that's just fine. So go back here, so we got normal, and I'll hit the back button to go down to the next thing. So we're trying to do just the basics here. The flight mode setups, the channel assignments, all of that, the defaults are just fine for now, because all we're trying to do is get it to work with the airplane first, and then we'll go have a separate video for all the advanced stuff. Okay, so that's it for the system setup. So we're finished in the system setup. I'm going to go back to the main menu, press the roller button again, and we're in the function list. And just like in the DX5, the only thing we had to do was set up the servo reversing. So all I'm going to do here for the basics is do the servo setup. Don't need to do any travel adjust. That's an advanced thing, and we actually may not need to do any of that, but we'll see. So I'm going to move the roller down to travel, press the roller once, and go to sub trims, which we don't need any right now, but we needed to change the reversing. Okay, so as I showed you before, the DX5 had the aileron and the rudder reversed. So we don't need to reverse the throttle, we need to reverse the aileron. So I'll use the roller to get over to the aileron, press the roller once, and you can see that the switch looks like it's in the up position, just like you saw it on the DX5. So the aileron is in the up position, the elevator is okay, the rudder needs to be in the up position. So the aileron and the rudder are reversed. The throttle, elevator, gear, and aux 1 are all normal. And that's all we need for the servo setup, and that's really all we need for the initial basic setup. As I said, you can see that the trim is all at 0. Throttle trim is 0, the rudder trim is 0. If I move the rudder trim, for example, you can see this number down here change. Okay, so I'll keep it at 0. Same for all of those, and you can still hear the high-pitched beep when it gets to neutral. So it's a good. There's the high-pitched beep for neutral. So they're all 0. And so that's it for the basic setup.